everyone. This is Jeff, the business guru, coming to you from, yes, downtown Manila in the Philippines. It's as hot as hell here. I've just had a nice cold drink, and I've got a lovely guest from an interesting part of the world today. And her name, interesting name as well. Her name is DeNola. And Maya has got a very interesting career. It's incredible, guys. She's a very interesting lady. Forensic social worker. She'll unpack that for you later. We've been having a good chat about that. Expert witness, clinical supervisor, physiotherapist, business company name, The Art of Anchoring, LLC, and To Life Counselling Services. Industry, multiple, mental health, criminal legal reform, social work. And been in the industry for some 15 years plus, so she knows a bit about it, guys. She's seeing new situations and learning new things like me every day. Location independent consulting firm offering expert forensic assessments to high stakes resentencing cases, clinical supervision to emerging therapists, and a separate boutique physiotherapy practice. Key achievements or projects, founding member of many things. Chain Voices, Art Show, Red Cross Award for work in animal rescue, various small animal welfare projects across the planet, co-teacher, Clinical Yoga Institute, survivor, IPV. Personal motto, I like this one, it's a good one, I'm guilty of this, survivor to thriver. Right, it's up to me, guys, to do that. Take the trip. You can always make more money. You can't always make more life. How cool is that? What a good line. I'm going to steal that line. This is one of my ones. I tell people all the time. You know, I'm a good guy until you cross the line. Don't judge. Never confuse kindness for weakness, and many people do. Right, many people.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying. I've got to tell you a funny story. The Philippines, right? It's very poor. And I tell the story about teach a man to fish. And I say in the Philippines, you teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for a day. Give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. And I add to that and I say, give him a fishing rod, and the moment you leave, he'll sell it and go and buy beer. that's how it is. Right. Anyway.
Each their own.
Yeah. Anyway, it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Maya. How are you, Maya? You going good?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
That's awesome. Let's get this started. Tell us about your journey and what inspired you to pursue your multiple career paths. Where did it all begin?
Wow, it's a great question. I often like to say I accidentally fell into it. So the journey has been, I'll quote that they say it's a curse in China, I suppose. May you live an interesting life. Yeah. And I have certainly been afforded an interesting life. And I'm very, very privileged to say that. I will say my career journey started a couple of years after after the internet began. So I'm aging myself, and it killed the industry I was in, which was travel. So I was in I worked for a travel agency, not knowing what I wanted to do in my mid-20s. I found myself traveling to post-Hurricane Katrina New Orleans in an effort to assist with the animal rescue operation on the ground after the hurricane, being a lifelong animal lover. And what ended up happening from that experience, I spent a couple of years in New Orleans working after the hurricane. I thought I was going into a career in animal welfare, quite frankly. And by happenstance and a little bit of tragedy, we lost my younger brother to a mental illness, which brought me back to California.
Yes.
And in California, I happened on an organization, a very unique organization called VetSOS, which combined the work of animal welfare with the work of human welfare. So a human health organization in the city of San Francisco which assisted unhoused individuals, had partnered with a veterinarian, and they were going around the city of San Francisco in a little van, offering free basic veterinary care to unhoused people who had companion animals, with the idea that if they could reach people through their animals, they could convince people to come forward for their own services and hopefully eventually come off the streets and work on getting better. And so I went to work for this organization, and this was the first place I met a social worker. I'd never heard of the profession. I had no idea what a social worker was. And I then found out that, guess what? You can go to school, which I never wanted to do. I barely made it out of high school. And you can get a degree and you can get paid to do this incredible healing work, supporting people in their own journeys through life. And that's kind of what started it. And I bumped around through my undergraduate. Again, I'm not an individual that particularly enjoys those kinds of institutions, but I powered through it, and I ended up in a specialized program at the University of Denver, thinking I was going into the, again, specialized animal-assisted social work program. But as life would have it, I was offered a different opportunity, which was to work in a brand new internship, which placed social workers on criminal defense teams, assisting with what's called mitigation, which you have to understand a little bit about the American legal system to understand that there's a guilt and innocence phase and there is a sentencing phase. And in the American legal system, things changed in the 2000s, and the door opened to help certain individuals who had been convicted of crimes prior to the age of 18 and were sentenced to prison without the possibility of parole. So we had individuals who had gone to prison at 12, 13, 14, 15, and were told that they would never, ever be released. They were now grown men in their 30s and 40s, 50s. The law had changed, and there was an opportunity to potentially help them get released out of prison.
That's awesome.
And so I was recruited as a social worker to assist with what we call mitigation reports, which is essentially a complex life history, looking at all the things that impact an individual's life. And so,
what you've
done
would be awesome.
Fascinating experience.
Yeah.
And so from there you grow and you learn. I did that for a good 5 years solid, which is where, as you mentioned, we founded this incredible art show called Chain Voices, which I'm just going to plug real quick because it's a phenomenal organization which continues to operate today, which offered an opportunity to incarcerated artists to show their art in galleries in Colorado. And we added a component by which each artist was allowed to write a short caption telling the world why they wanted the money and what they wanted the money for.
They can express themselves too. Awesome, right?
And tell their story. Yeah. Correct. And although you would think, right, that people would want things for themselves, many, many people wrote incredible pieces about either a family member or the victim in their particular case, and wanting to find a way to give back through the production of this art. So if there was a cancer, in their family, or an illness, or something that had to do with the kind of crime that they had been convicted of, they wanted to donate the money to those causes, in addition to, of course, people who needed to take care of themselves while in prison. So long story short, did that work for a long time, still continue to do it, but eventually pivoted into providing individual therapy outside of the criminal justice system.
What's been the most challenging aspect of your overall work, and how have you overcome that?
Oof.
The system?
Again, the system is challenging without a doubt. it's hard to pick just one thing. It's kind of like when people ask someone like me who travels extensively, what's your favorite country? There are many favorite countries for many different reasons. There
Absolutely.
are many
It's like
challenges
steak
for
and
many
chips.
different reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get it. Because I travel. I get
right.
I get it.
The system is certainly challenging. I think what has challenged me the most and is the hardest thing to overcome in this work is your faith in humanity.
Yes.
When you do this kind of work, you see both the very, very worst of humankind, and you also, conversely, see the very, very best.
Yes.
People who have just done dedicated work to either heal themselves
Yes. Or heal
and
up.
by proxy heal their communities and by proxy heal humanity.
Yes.
People who have dedicated themselves to the service of others, who have dedicated themselves to justice. It is this constant yin and yang of seeing both the best and the worst and keeping the faith that you should continue to do the best that you can whenever you can, I think is the most challenging piece of this.
Fair enough. One of my guests a few days ago, a beautiful lady, and I love what she said. She said, um, at the end, she said to people, "Be a good human," and I love that.
Yes, please.
Said,
Yes,
said
please.
nice. Be a good human. I thought that was so cool. I'd never heard it before. It said that way, right? And it was just so good on her subject matter. Tell us about an important moment in your career that pretty much changed your total direction. When was that pivotal moment where you said, "Aha, I'm gonna go this way"?
There are many,
Yeah.
but
So you're like
it always
like a river, you
comes.
change direction, right? You're like a river.
Sorry?
You're like a river. You change direction. You're not like the ocean. You're just changing
Yeah,
direction time to time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm like a river of mercury.
Yeah. That's the one.
Um, you know, one of the things that impacted me the most, it's not one, it's an experience which traversed multiple people.
Yes.
And that was when I met my um, juvenile life without parole clients.
Right.
The individuals that I had the privilege of meeting who had been incarcerated
And every one of them had a different story,
since
right?
since they were teens. Not only did every one of them have a different story, but the level of resilience and the level of introspection and work that these individuals had done to change their circumstances in some of the most darkest places
Yes.
possible. And let me be very clear, prison is a dark, dark
Absolutely.
place,
Yeah.
right? Um, that really inspired me. It really, really drove home the idea that nothing is unchangeable and nothing that you have done in life means that you cannot then turn around and be a better human, as your guest had said.
I'm going to tell you something funny. I spoke to a guest today, and she was like a calming coach, and she was a beautiful woman about. In fact, she was 73, looked about 50. Beautiful woman, really had her life together. And I said to her at the end, I said, after talking to you, I feel like giving up this chasing business, chasing money routine, and going and being a Buddha and just enjoying life, going up and enjoying myself. But she was so good. So she was obviously very good at her work because she took me out of from one zone, like the business zone, into a relaxation zone. She was awesome. Tell me, how do you
I
stay
love it.
motivated and continue to innovate in your field as you do?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How do you stay motivated and continue to
Mm.
innovate in your field?
It's curiosity. It's having a natural curious nature, I think. Probably one of the reasons that I enjoy travel so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're like me. You need,
Remain.
you need stimulus, right?
I do. I absolutely need stimulus. And remaining curious about the world at large,
Yes.
people, places, animals, right? Curiosity has been really, really helpful to me. The other thing I will say is, right, learn about yourself as much as you learn about the world.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
And the
right.
more I learn about myself and the more I allow myself to truly be who I am,
That's right.
right?
Let the guard
It
down.
really,
Be you. Be the real you. You know?
which is so hard because, right, society, most of us live or have been socialized in societies that have given you the exact opposite message your
Yeah.
entire life.
Yes.
And those are habits and neuro wirings that are really, really difficult to change, right? But yes, absolutely, right?
You and
That
I are
is
good
the
lucky. We beat the
biggest work
system
you
years
can
ago.
do.
Yeah, we
What's
broke
that?
we beat this. We broke the mold. So we broke the system. You're not supposed to travel. You're not supposed to travel the world and have fun. Right?
Yeah, the message certainly is don't be you, be this other thing
Yeah,
that
that's
we
right.
sanction as being correct.
Yeah, I'm waiting to grow up. tell, tell us about a recent achievement or project you're particularly proud of out of the many you've done.
So I think one of the things that I'm currently most proud of doing is actually the intersection, returning back to my heart's work, which is animal welfare work.
Yes.
And I have been able to partner with a number of local organizations and with a dear friend of mine out of California in starting a new project to really highlight different animal welfare and animal rescue organizations around the planet. And so that's in the works right now. It's still developing, but it is an exceptional opportunity and an exceptional feeling to be able to collaborate in that way and to really make local change wherever we go as travelers. And that is really the message behind this endeavor, is that no matter where you are, you can always alleviate the suffering. You can always do something small to make a big impact, even if you're just passing through. And so that's a project that's in the works right now. And I am very, very excited about that. So stay tuned if that's something of interest.
Lovely. Tell me, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself? Like your 18-year-old daughter, what would you tell her to do?